Long ago, there was a king, and he was a good king, you know. He wanted his people to be happy, and he wanted peace in his kingdom. And he reasoned that happiness means that people have peace, and in order to have peace, one must have justice. So he ordered a large bell to be constructed. And he hung this bell in the highest tower in the city, and to this bell he fashioned a strong rope. Now, over the years, that bell was rung many times, and to his credit, the king and his judges doled out justice, whether it be to the poor and needy or to the rich and powerful. Anybody who needed help could ring that bell and receive justice. Well, enough time had passed that rope started to become rotted. And so they ordered for a new rope. But it's the old days, and they had to make that rope by hand. So that new rope couldn't be completed for a long time. So the king thought of another idea. Well, we've got all these beautiful grapes growing around our nice city here. What if we were to just harvest some grapevines and use that for the time being until the new rope arrives? And so they did. The people of the village got about, busying themselves with fashioning and braiding these grapevines together into a long braid, hanging all the way down the bell. And as it was springtime, it was a beautiful braid, covered in grapevines and green shoots and leaves and buds and grape flowers, and it was a sight to behold, this new rope that they fashioned. Well, this interim rope that they fashioned, rather. Well, just as this new rope was being completed, Farmer Bruno came walking into town, riding his old, broken down horse. Now, he was a cruel farmer, and he was tired of this horse. So he turned the horse out onto the city streets and said in the cruelest voice, "Eat, horse, and you might live." Then he just walked away. He left that horse. That horse, she was old and she was tired. She wandered through the city streets, and some people gave her scraps and other people felt pity for her and gave her other bits of food, but man, she got hungry. She got really hungry. Eventually, she came upon none other than the grapevine bell rope. And her dim eyes saw those green shoots and grapevine leaves all hanging from that bell. She thought to herself, hey, these might be good to eat. And so with a mighty tug, she started pulling at those grapevines, and the bell rang for justice. Dong, dong, dong. With each pull of the grapevines, that horse was ringing the bell. Now all the townsfolk came over to see, and they said, "Hey, who's ringing the bell? Who's ringing the bell? Let's see who it is. Let's see who needs justice today. Let's see the goodliness of our king." And they were surprised. They came over to that bell expecting, like, I don't know, a child or an old man or a wronged or slighted wife or something, but no, it's just a horse. The king came over and said, "Does anyone know whose horse this is?" It was silent for a second as people thought about it. Then one person spoke up. That person said, That's Farmer Bruno's horse. He rode on that horse when his daughter was getting married. And another person, Bruno's neighbor actually, Bruno's neighbor said, and that horse worked dawn till dusk during the planting season. Man, that horse is a hard worker. That horse demands justice. We should let that horse have justice. And one by one, because everyone knows Farmer Bruno. Everyone knows Farmer Bruno to be a cruel master to his horse. And that was one by one. The people listed off how they knew the horse and what they knew about Farmer Bruno. The judges doled out their justice. They listened carefully to all the stories. And they said, okay, where's Farmer Bruno at? They sent a runner to his house, demanding his presence before the king and the judges and the magistrates and the barristers and the whole court. Well, when Farmer Bruno got there, he was surprised to see a courtroom full of people. Everybody in that courtroom he knew. He knew everybody here by name. He had worked with some of these people. He lived next to some of these people. Some of these people were at his daughter's wedding. Some of these people were there when his granddaughters were born. And as he's scanning that courtroom, he sees his horse. He says, "What in the world?" And just like that, it was over. The judges said to Farmer Bruno, "You gotta build this horse a warm stable for her to live out the rest of her days. You've mistreated this horse by turning her out on the street in her old age, leaving her to die like this. A horse can't survive in the city. You would have been better off turning her out in your farm. What are you doing?" "I demand," said the king, "that you build this horse a stable, a grand stable, a stable in which she can live out the rest of her days in peace and luxury." Banging his gavel on the table. And so it was. That horse received justice, the same as any person alive. Thank you very much.